Uncle Rana's stuff. This is about upgrade to the new Windows 11 version 24H2, and that was released last fall, and I had installed Windows 11 on computers which doesn't have the meet the requirements of Windows 11. That is the BIOS hardware protection, and there was something else. I can't remember. The TPM was one, and there was another requirement that my hardware just didn't meet. But I wanted to run Windows 11, and there was a workaround, and I got it installed, and it had been working fine, no problem whatsoever. And so I delayed and delayed because Microsoft already said that if you tried to run Windows 11 on unsupported hardware, it could be unstable and such and such. And anyway, when they came out with 24H2, it would not automatically install from the update. Okay, so this is probably late for a lot of people, but I finally got around to trying it. And what I read and saw on YouTube and other places is that you could download Windows ISO, Windows 11 ISO, and install it on your computer. It's an ISO. You got to open it up first, and then you run the exe as a administrator, and it will install. It says it's installing a server version, but it is really not doing that. But it will install. It did install. I did have, what I did was I told it not to install all updates and driver updates initially. I wanted to just get Windows 11 put on, then I'll look at the updates. And I did that, and it did seem to work fine. And then I started doing updates, and they all seemed fine for a while. And then I ran into an issue. I had all my computers set to get the preview. This is through developer or whatever it is that you can get pre-release of an update where it's not really ready for prime time, but you get it early. And when I did that on one of my computers, it literally got the blue screen of death. And luckily, there was a backup. I could find a backup. Every time you do an update, there is a backup made of the computer before you do the update. So I was managed to roll back out the bad update and get back to a stable Windows 11 24H2. Okay, so I had to go turn off all of my previews. I didn't want those. I only had one computer that required a driver update, and it did that fine. So I have successfully put 24H on hardware which is not supposed to be running it, but it will do so. And I don't have any instability problems with any applications I had. However, and this is a big however, on any computer, doesn't matter if it was the newest and greatest and latest, it already came with Windows 11 Pro, which is what I have. I have multiple computers, and I had set up file sharing between all those computers on the network. I could go from any computer to any other computer and see basically the D drive, and have access to share. I had shared folders across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different computers. I could share folders between any of those, and that's what I like to do. I keep stuff on things, and I back up stuff on things. Anyway, upon installing 24H2, lo and behold, I find that Windows, Microsoft in their wisdom, has said that allowing unpassword protected sharing is not a good idea. And that's the way it was set up to start with. I could turn off password sharing with a checkbox, which meant that I didn't, when I tried to go to another shared file on some other computer, I didn't have to enter a username and password. I just, bing, had access to the drive on the network. That's not true anymore. 24H2 defaults all file sharing to requiring a username and password. I don't like that. I don't want that. I'm on a private network here in my house. Now, I can sort of understand it in industry, and that's where Microsoft's done all the security stuff over the years, so they can get U.S. federal government contracts, because U.S. federal government wants security on everything, and they don't want like people who are not qualified, not authorized to see data that they're not authorized to see. So that's where all the security stuff comes from, down to the bitlock level, even at a file level, folder level. It's all. But now in their wisdom, they have defaulted, and you can't uncheck the box. They've defaulted, if you want to do file share, you have to use username and password. And I don't want to do that. So I have looked around, and apparently there is a way on Pro, which I have, to edit the group policy editor, and also maybe make an entry in the registry to allow no required username or password to do file sharing. Now, it is interesting. One of the computers that I said I installed it on all, that's not really true. An old HP I have fails to install the 24H2. It comes up and says I have some kind of driver error, and I've removed all the extraneous devices that were maybe installed on it, thinking one of those is a problem, and I've yet to be able to get it installed on that. But I have work I'm ongoing, so I said, okay, I'll get back to that later, and I went ahead and started TurboTax on that computer, and I've been doing tax work on that, and that's okay. I don't need to share anything from there to anybody else yet. But anyway, it is interesting that this morning I had already disconnected all the drives, shared drives, off that computer, which never took a 24H update. And lo and behold, I could add via network, add to the network, I could add back in all of the 24H computers that I have around the house. And it didn't require a username login. So from my old pre-24H computer, I have file sharing, which is interesting. That does work. If I go to a 24H computer and try to go back and see, which is really number one, computer number one, that is not 24H, I can't do it. It won't, it doesn't say it wants a username and password. So this is a warning. I don't know, everybody's probably already switched over to 24H, and there's a whole series of updates when you do that, including to NetFrame, and there's a whole big giant update to 24H itself that you have to download. I'm late to doing it because I was concerned that my old hardware wouldn't take it, but it's just downloading Windows 11 as an ISO file and then running it as administrator. It came up and said it was going to install the server version. But it allowed me to say, do you want to keep all of your old applications and programs and files? And I said yes. And it did properly install on old hardware. It did not make an attempt to check for TPM or whatever else I've forgotten already. It's supposedly required at the hardware level to run Windows 11. Okay. Now, in some future time, they'll probably issue a new update, and they may or may not install on my old hardware. I know eventually it's just not going to take it anymore. I'm going to have to buy a new computer, but I didn't want to do that for a while. I got a lot of good fast workstations. They're old, but they got a lot of memory and they got fast drives and so on, and I want to keep them as long as I can, so that's what I've done. There was no hacking required or anything like that to get 24H2 to install on what was really already a Windows 11 computer and not supported by the hardware. That I had to hack around to get. Anyway, the warning is about file sharing, and there is a group policy edit, and I'm going to try that next to see if that really does allow me to share without any sort of, okay, what's your username and what's your password. That's just why they defaulted it to that. That's maybe in the future they'll change that. Again, I see it useful in the workplace. For the administrators who are there administrating that network, it means a whole lot of fun to have to go around and establish accounts for various people and then set what in each computer, what sort of files can be shared to that individual. That's going to be a whole lot of fun for somebody. I'm surprised I have not read about it in the news or heard about it anywhere. I'm sure a lot of people have been aware of it in the workplace. But I'm at home, but I have a network of 6 computers, and I like being able to file share stuff. And what I really do is back up one computer to another. I have servers down here in the basement that host movies and also our backups. They're redundant. I have an array down here of redundant disks, so whatever is written to one disk is written to the other. So I have a backup of a backup automatically going all the time because hard drives fail. And I would like whatever data I have, I don't know if it'll mean anything in 100 years or not, but I would like to make it available for someone if they wanted it in some sort of format. No, it is not in the cloud at this point. It's on physical media, but lots of it. And beyond all that, I'm going to hype this again. I have a 10 terabyte drive in a lockbox at the bank that allows me to back up every computer's operating system at that point in time. It also allows me to back up all of the data and all the 6 computers I have. It does not exceed 6 terabytes, 10 terabytes at this time. So I have, if all else fails, I have a backup at least, it's a year old, but it's better than losing everything. That's enough of this. This was about 24H2, Windows 11, installing it on unsupported hardware. And the only gotcha is the file sharing issue. And if I get it resolved, I will make a video and share it with everybody. That's enough for today. Today is the 31st of February, 2025.